Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be team building around Okidogi. So this has been widely requested by some people within my Discord server, as well as, you know, privately through DMs. And, you know, I've been telling people, you know, hold off on the Okidogi a little bit. Let's give it some time before we try and fully commit to it. Okay, I've been waiting to see just how it would go and perform in regulationE, and I think now we're at the point where, like, I have enough data where I can kind of get a sense of how to use it a little bit, or at least put a squad together that can get you a decent amount of wins. That being said, I still think Okidogi is relatively niche, okay? But it's got pretty good stats, right? You know, base HP 88, 128 attack, 115 defense, you know, so it's pretty physical, all right? And then the special defense is also pretty solid as well, 86. This speed tier is a little bit middling, right? It looks like one of those tiers where, like, you know, it could be good in Tailwind, but not really that great, or it could be decent in Trick 'em, but also not so decent as well. So you've got a mid tier going on there for you, but you know, poison fighting is always relatively interesting. But the cool thing is, of course, this guard dog ability, right? You know, you're immune to Intimidate, which is very good considering how much Landorus is running around, how much Hisuian-Arcanine is running around, and then you get a +1 attack, which is kind of nice. Okay, and then you cannot be forced to switch out, which is always pretty good, I guess. So the question now is, like, how do I build around this thing? Okay, has there been any tournament play using this that has had a decent amount of success with Okidogi? And yes, there is. Now the question is, how do I search for that data, and how can I, you know, get some kind of backlog on Okidogi, right? If I want to do a little bit of research before I start building. So, you know, the hard way is to just go into the Limitless website and, you know, you narrow it down to VGC tournaments and start touring, not start touring, but start clicking every single one of these and hope to God that there's an Okidogi, and see if that Okidogi even did relatively well, you know, within that tour, right? I could do that, but then that would probably take me like 2 hours, maybe even 3. Okay, I wish there was a way where I can filter this and see if Okidogi was in fact in these tours ahead of time, and there is. Okay, maybe not here in the Limitless website unless I'm looking wrong, but you can find this in the LabMaus website. So once again, we're back to using LabMaus here, and this is one of the main benefits and selling points of LabMaus. You know, if you're trying to find a Pokemon, you know, that had made appearances within selected tournaments, but you don't want to go through every single one, you know, this is where LabMaus comes in handy. So over here on the left-hand side, where it says search Pokemon, I have some options here. I can always scroll down, but of course I can just type it in, and I'm gonna put in Okidogi here, and I'm gonna click it, and now all of a sudden it gives me a ton of data on Okidogi, which is really nice, right? So I can look at it in terms of usage. I can look at tournament standings, you know, depending on the tour that it was in, some abilities that it was used. Of course, it's just guard dog, right? There's no debate there. And then popular Terra types, depending on the one that you selected, right? You can see percentage here. Items that were used, all right, that can also be a pretty good determining factor in how you want to build your Okidogi. Same with movesets over here, okay? There you have some options, and then of course partners and teammates, right? You know, this can also give you some idea as far as, like, how do you want to build around it. Now, if you're looking at like specific tours, that's where this comes into play, right? So we can see that the Okidogi was used in a couple of the Pokebros tours. I see Pokebros Invitational LCQ number 2. I've seen the Nino Free For All number 75. There's a Tommy tour here, right? There's a Spear Pillar tour, a Himi Turner tour, okay, and a couple more, right? Now the question is, let's say I click one of them, like, can I find an Okidogi kind of team? Well, let's take a look. So here, Pokebros Invitational, right? So I'm just gonna simply type in Pokebros, right? And I'm gonna click apply filters, and now I have the 2 tournaments that Okidogi participated in, you know, in terms of player usage. And now my data gets filtered out a little bit, right? It gets cleaned up, so you can see some more items here that were used. So for example, I can see that Assault Vest has started to rise a little bit on some of these Okidogi teams, right? So that's pretty good. I can see there's a Mirror, a Citrus Berry, and Leftovers, so that's nice and interesting. The Terra Fairy was on the rise a little bit, along with some Terra water usage. Okay, I understand the Terra Fairy. In terms of standings, of course, you can see this 30, 50, 87. So not like super great standings, of course. You know, it's a relatively niche mob, but at least it gives me something to look at, right? And then, of course, Guard Dog is the one that's on the rise, of course. And then the Toxic Chain is just like relatively niche. partner-wise, from the Nino Tour, so look at this. Ogerpon, you have Fluttermane, Arcanine, the other Ogerpon, okay, and a little bit of Landorus. So, you know, relatively standard stuff, okay? So let's say if I wanted the Pokebros Invitational LCQ, right? The 2023 LCQ, this one specifically. Not the number 2, but the first one. So what I would do is I would go to all tournaments and I would just type in, where is that? Pokebros, right? Like this. And now I have all of the Pokebros tournament, right? It very much filters it. And now, if this is not even aesthetically pleasing, what I can do is I can always go back into the Limitless website, right? And find that specific Pokebros tour and then look at it from there, right? But since I'm already using LabMaus, I might as well stick to it. And then from here, now this is going to show me all the open team sheets of all those teams from that Pokebros tour. So we're going to go to Okidogi, right? It's going to filter it. And wait, Okidogi, there we go. All right, so here we go. All right, here's the first one, 31st place. So here's my open team sheet, and here's something to study. All right, so Roaring Moon, Okidogi, Fluttermane, Ogerpon, Heartflame. There's a Sinistcha here. Okay, this makes sense. And here is a Basculegion for some apparent reason, right? So, Guard Dog, Assault Vest with Ice Punch. Ice Punch is pretty good. I do like Gunk Shot. I do like Knockoff. I do like Drain Punch, of course. I think Drain Punch and Gunk Shot are the two mainstays. And then you have two like relatively niche moves in Ice Punch and Knockoff. I do like Ice Punch, you know, and instead of Knockoff, you know, you already have that over here. I kind of like Snarl, right? I do think Assault Vest Snarl Okidogi is actually relatively nice. Now, I understand there may not be as much special attackers in the format, but I still think Snarl has some good merit there, especially against something like maybe the Blood Moon kind of teams, you know, especially against like Armarouge, Torkoal, that kind of stuff. Sinistcha, good recovery here. I understand this. So, but yeah, that's how you want to use this LabMaus website. So what else is there? We also have this one over here. This is a strange team as well. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't really show me the placements or the performance, but either way, it's still like pretty good. And here's that Brick Break Snarl idea, okay, with Ogerpon, Clefairy. So a Redirector, some Speed Control Mon, Blood Moon or Saluna with Fergaf is pretty good. Definitely understand that there. Now, besides the Nino Tour, where else can I find it? So let me go back here with Okidogi, and I can search more tournaments. Let's go a Tommy Tuesday Tour with 98 players, right? Because there's a lot of Tommy Tuesdays. But I'm gonna find specifically the one with 98, okay? And here it is. And there's some other ones, right? Now I'm not gonna look at the Halloween one, right? Because that's very that was a relatively niche tour. But again, we have a little bit more data, right? So all in all, like I was using this website and I was looking at potential partners, I was looking at potential moves, all right, and deciding, you know, do I want Assault Vest, do I want Leftovers? Because I think both have some merit, but in the grand scheme of things, this is what we came up with, right? So I did find that Roaring Moon was a very good partner, right? Why? Because Okidogi, poison fighting type, 4 times weakness to Psychic, right? And anytime you want to pick a partner, you want to compensate for some of that weakness, right? So what's a good counter to Psychic? You need a Dark type. I can't think of a better Dark type than Roaring Moon besides Galarian Moltres. So I feel like these two come together, right? And then from here, you know, how do I support these two, right? Well, I could use a special attacker, okay? I could use some Intimidate, I could use some Fake Out Pressure, I could use some Redirection. The typical VGC template in terms of, you know, team building, okay? So, let me see, what else can I do? I do like the idea of screens. I saw a lot of Okidogi Grimmsnarl teams. I saw a lot of Okidogi-Ninetales teams with screens, and I think screens along with Roaring Moon is the way to go in terms of how we want to play this team. Like, again, Grimmsnarl or Ninetales works well here. Ultimately, I was testing out Ninetales, and I said, you know what, I kind of like Ninetales. So we're going to go with this. But if you like Grimmsnarl, I definitely think Grimmsnarl is very good. And the set that you can definitely consider is something like this with Spirit Break, Light Screen, Reflect, and something like either Thunder Wave. You know, Thunder Wave was actually pretty good speed control. Or you can even do like Parting Shot, you know, just neutralize threats and then just force repositioning, right? But again, we went with Ninetales. So here we go. We got Roaring Moon, Ninetales, and Okidogi. So here's our starting core. Now, I enjoyed Ninetales with 2 other specific Pokemon. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you kind of already know what I'm getting at. I do like Heatran over here. I think Heatran is quite nice because, again, Roaring Moon weak to fairy types. Heatran 4 times resistance to fairy, you know, with your fire and steel moves. Ninetales weak to fire. Heatran, flash fire, you know, very, very good pivot. Okay, and then from here, you know, Okidogi and Heatran, they're both weak to ground type attacks, you know, because this is poison, this is, you know, fire steel. If I can get a flying pivot mon in here, that would be relatively nice. I can't think of a better one than Landorus, okay, which was also one of the common Okidogi partners that we saw, you know, using the LabMaus website over here. So I figured, you know what, let's just go with it, you know. So Landorus, Ninetales, Heatran. This is a very old familiar core. You know, you get Intimidate, you get screens, a lot of damage mitigation, and ultimately, you know, you could put your Assault Vest here, you know, or you can put your leftovers here. Just all depends on how you want to play it. But now I understand, look, I got Heatran, I got Landorus. I need something to support these two and not just get smacked by Urshifu Rapid Strike. And this is where the Ogerpon-Wellspring came to be, right? So now with Heatran, now we have a Fire, Water, Grass core. We have a Follow Me Redirector, okay? We've got Intimidate. We've got Aurora Veil with the screens support, you know, damage mitigation. And we even have a little bit of speed control because this is going to be a Tailwind Roaring Moon, right? So all in all, this is what I decided to do, you know, in terms of team construction. I just wanted to choose like very solid options and start from here. Now, I'm not saying like this was like the best team, but it was actually a relatively good team when I was trying it out. And I felt relatively comfortable, you know, using it because it was actually pretty easy to set up the Okidogi. And that kind of spoiled what I was going to build with it. But here it is. It was going to be a bulk up Okidogi set with leftovers and protect. Okay, so with the meta being so physical, you know, if you have bulk up here, you're getting a lot of these defenses, defense boosts, I should say. And then you just add the fact that you can have Drain Punch here, along with Gunk Shot. It just puts on so much pressure on these Terra Fairy mons running around. Like imagine Terra Fairy Arcanine, Terra Fairy Heatran, Terra Fairy Fluttermane. You know, the Gunk Shot just runs through, and then Drain Punch is very strong. It's Stab Drain Punch, strong into Heatran, strong into Arcanine altogether. And then of course Bulk Up, great into like, you know, the Ogerpon stuff or anything like Urshifu. You're able to just set up bulk ups behind screens and or Intimidate support, and then or even Follow Me, and then the Okidogi, even if it does take damage, can just click Drain Punch and recover over time, and you know, it just becomes unbreakable, especially behind screen support. All right, so this was the team that we came up with, right? And again, shout outs to LabMaus for helping us out, you know, just being able to find teams to look at and research relatively quickly. You know, with this site. Otherwise, I would have had to spend like 2 hours on Limitless, and I did not want to do that. So shout outs to LabMaus for helping me out there, along with this other information that I was also able to utilize, right? So then from here, now what we're going to do is we're just going to round out the rest of the team. We'll show you some test games with it, so this way you get a sense of how to pilot this Okidogi squad. Okay, so with Roaring Moon over here, I think we're just going to keep things relatively standard in terms of how we want to reconstruct the rest of the team. So basically, Boost Energy was the way, you know, with Acrobatics, and then Knockoff, of course, Tailwind, and then Protect. Where's the Protect here? Terra Flying, you know, of course, with the Acrobatic stuff. Then the Ninetales. So, Light Clay, of course. Wow, I can't really type this. Yeah, there we go. Light Clay, Aurora Veil, Blizzard, and then the Moonblast move, right? So a good fairy move. So you can even do like Encore and Icy Wind over here. But I think just having like a strong stab ice move and a strong fairy move is always very, very good, especially because we don't have Fluttermane. So I kind of wanted to do this idea. So, and then of course Terra Ghost here, you know, just for fake out stuff. You can definitely do Terra Water here. I think that's also really, really nice. Choice Scarf Landorus, very standard Choice Scarf Landorus set, you know, with Terra Blast, Terra Flying yet again. But either way, Stomping Tantrum, right? Terra Blast, you know, Rock Slide, and then U-Turn in the last slot. The Heatran, so because I went good leftovers here, I decided to try something interesting. At first, I was gonna do like Life Orb Heatran, but then I saw like an interesting set here with Assault Vest, and I think just having these 4 attacks is actually really nice. I was going with Heat Wave, I was doing Earth Power, I was doing Terra Blast, Terra Fairy, you know, which was all on the rise with, you know, with Heatran. And then over here, I still had Flash Cannon, you know, just because I needed a good solid steel move into something like a Fluttermane or some of these other Terra Fairy stuff. So just in case I didn't have the Okidogi with me and I went with other options. So I was trying out Assault Vest Heatran and I liked it a lot. So I decided to stay with it. But if you want, you can definitely switch the AV to Okidogi here, put like Ice Punch and Snarl, and then put the leftovers over here and just add Protect here, you know, with your 3 moves. Okay, so either way, it's still like relatively standard. And then over here, the Ogerpon, of course, Ivy Cudgel. I like Wood Hammer here, Follow Me, and then Spiky Shield. You can technically go Swords Dance here, but I like the redirection support to be able to enable the Okidogi. And then the Okidogi itself, like I said, this is pretty much it. And now in terms of Terra type, we went Terra Fairy here, believe it or not. You know, I actually thought it was a relatively nice defensive typing, right? Because the only thing that was really pressuring it was something like Goldengo. But like Goldengo just went splat, you know, versus what we have over here. So I wasn't worried so much about Goldengo, okay? But other than that, this is pretty much the 6, right? So again, Intimidate, Pressure, Redirection, Support, no Fake Out, but we do have Screens and we do have Tailwind. So all in all, I still think we had a decent, good arsenal of tools to use. And then we had Setup here with Bulk Up. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to give you some general EV spreads and then just go ahead and take a look and test out the team. Alright, so with the Roaring Moon, at the very least, I wanted to outspeed Iron Bundle after Tailwind, especially if it already had a +1 boost. Iron Bundle after +1 boost hits 309, so I wanted to hit 310 under Tailwind, which means 310 divided by 2 is 155. So all I needed was 155 speed, so I went right here, okay, 124 speed investment. And then I just went second benchmark here in the attack stat, which is right here, and then just put 1 point in the bulk and then just dump the rest into HP like this. 207, optimizing Tyranitar Sandchip damage, okay? And once again, I just want to take a moment to, you know, explain to you guys that if you're trying to play competitive Pokemon and if you need help with some of your EV spreads, okay, if you don't know what EV bumps are, okay, make sure you comment in the video description below what are EV bumps, because it's a really fundamental idea to understand if you're trying to do your EV spreads for all your Pokemon and you don't know how to do your EV spreads. You'll always see me mention stuff like, you know, we're gonna hit it to the first bump, to the second bump, the first benchmark, the second benchmark. What are all these bumps and benchmarks? So comment in the video below asking what are EV bumps and we will explain it to you. All right, so this way you get an idea of what it is we're doing. That being said, back to creating our EV spread. So with the Ninetales, I think it's just important to outspeed like other Ogerpons in general. So I just went max speed timid here. You know, 176 was important, so 177 is also pretty good here for that reason. That being said, you know, in terms of HP value, like again, I still wanted a little bit of defense, you know, for the bulk stuff. So I went to even numbers here with defense and special defense, just so that, you know, the optimization with the Aurora Veil is there, right? And then 204, I just dumped the rest into HP like this, and that's it. That's our bulky Ninetales set. Not meant to do a ton of damage, but is meant to be at least a little bit fast, right? With 177, that's still pretty good. And then, you know, get off that Aurora Veil, and then from there, it is what it is, okay? Landorus, this is very straightforward. We went max attack, not max attack, max speed, Adamant Landorus, which will cap at 143, right? And then we went 116 in the attack set. This is the second bump here. See how you go up by 2 points instead of 1, right? And then just 1 point in the bulk, and then just dump the rest into HP, right? Very standard, safe Landorus set over here. What happened to my mouse? There we go. All right. So Heatran was a little interesting. So I still wanted to keep like odd numbers here, just so that I can, you know, get the best value out of my Assault Vest. So, but I also wanted to pick a speed tier, right? So ultimately my speed tier was something like this. We're gonna go modest, so we're gonna get a decent amount of attack stat. I went to about 92 here, right? Because you know, right here at 76. 107 under Tailwind, you outspeed Dragapult, but I want to kind of outspeed some of the speed creepers, so let's go to 109 here. I think that was relatively safe. And then from here, again, I went 76 modest. Okay, this is the first bump here with the modest nature. Again, you know, gonna do a decent amount of damage, not a whole lot. You know, it's gonna do decent chip, but I did like this a little bit, so I still like my Heatran's relatively bulky. Then over here, I've always been aiming for 204 because at the time I was doing like leftovers EV spreads, but this will also be good, you know, if you're playing against a Rillaboom, and then you get to take advantage of the grassy terrain because it's a perfect 11 recovery per turn. And what's really good about this is with this 108 investment and 204 HP, that's going to be good against Landorus, Stomping Tantrum, you know, especially with Intimidate / Aurora Veil, so that's nice. and then just really dump the rest here in special defense here. It's a nice even number. Again, if this was an odd number like this, for example, you know, 129 times 1.5 gives you an odd number, and then it's a decimal, right? It'll round down. We don't want that. We want nice, solid, even numbers. So this way, when we do get that multiplier boost, it's a flat whole number, okay? And then from here, Ogerpon, so same idea. What I really wanted to do with Ogerpon is, again, just make it super bulky, but still have a decent amount of damage. So we're still gonna go max HP, okay? And we're gonna go about 76 here attack, you know, so first benchmark here. Now, I went specifically 84 defense. Why? Because this survives the Choice Band Arcanine Flare Blitz, right? So that's what I was aiming for. And then after that, I just wanted a tiny bit of SpDef like this just to get another even number, because if I do Terra +1, I still want to get a nice solid number. And then just dump the rest here into speed. 141 is important. You know, think about it, 139, this is outspeeding those other 139s that after a +1 speed boost or -1 from Icy Wind, they're going to outspeed the Flutters and the Chien-Paos. So I want to do a little speed creeping on those and just go to 141 like this. And then that'll just pretty much round out our Ogerpon spread, right? So meant to survive Arcanine Flare Blitz, you know, without having to Terra. So that's also pretty good. Now we go to the Okidogi with the leftover set. So, you know, again, I'm going for Adamant Nature. I want to optimize the leftovers recovery. So I just went immediately straight to like 228, I believe, right? So that'll get it to 92 HP right here, 192. And then 172 was the second benchmark in attack stat right here. See how you go to 187? But with bulk up here, you know, I just wanted to go a little bit more. Let's go to an even number here with 180 investment. I think that's okay. And then just dump the rest into defense and SpDef. You don't really need a whole lot. And then the rest went into speed. So 112 is a pretty nice number in terms of a VGC benchmark, because after a +1, you're able to outspeed a Chi-Yu or another base 100. Hit him with a Drain Punch, for example. Now, granted, we don't have anything here to give us that +1 unless we had Icy Wind Ninetales for that matter. But either way, it's still pretty good to outspeed some other threats, you know, with this 112 speed number. Now, it's not like incredibly fast by any means, but it's still pretty good. So I just kept it. I was rolling with it. I didn't have any problems with it. So eventually, you might even adjust this. You could even just make this super bulky and go like right here in the first bump in the attack stat, and then you can just redistribute some of this stuff. Go into SpDef here. Let's go one more even number here like this, right? And then you can even just add more here into defense, and then this is another set that you can definitely consider, right? If you want it to be like a little bit more bulkier, but also a little bit less hard hitting, but it still works. But I didn't really have anything I was calculating for SpDef at the given moment, so I kind of left things as they were, and then just left everything, you know, in terms of just benchmark numbers, right? After that, I think we made everything, right? So yeah, this is it. So we created our EV spreads, right, with Roaring, Ninetales, Lando, Heatran, Wellspring, Ogerpon, and then Okidogi. Looks like a very familiar team. You can even just slap on back Excalibur over here, and now you have all of a sudden a snow team with an Okidogi on it. So that also can be a thing to explore. But again, I want Tailwind on the Roaring Moon, you know, along with screens. I think that's a great weapon to have. So, you know, I settled for it. So, but yeah, hopefully you get a sense of how we decided to build this Okidogi team. So now let's go ahead and showcase it in a couple quick battles. All right, so this one's using one of those Dondozo teams without Tatsugiri, which means it's just like heavy slam and yawn, you know, to help you with reposition purposes. But he's got a similar idea to us. I see Roaring Moon, I see Ninetales, I see Heatran. He's got double dragon here with back Excalibur, but either way, I still think what we have in Okidogi looks really good here, right? Especially against like Ninetales back Excalibur. Like Okidogi looks really good, and even Heatran and Roaring Moon. Yeah, Drain Punch is going to go ham here unless they decide to Terra, but, you know, we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. So I'm going to go with Ogerpon and simply the Okidogi right from the get-go. He's going to go with back Excalibur, and he's going to go with the Alolan-Ninetales. So this is still fine. I'm just going to redirect, okay? I'm going to set up my bulk ups. He goes with the Aurora, but that's still okay, all right? Icicle Crash, doing a decent amount of damage, right? But still fine. I'm going to Spiky Shield Protect again. And then he goes for Icy Wind. That really doesn't matter because, you know, he's faster anyway, but maybe he just wanted to guarantee it just in case. But this is free Drain Punch jam damage into the back Excalibur. I get all my health back. Okay, I'm just going to redirect again. I don't even care if I lose the Ogerpon at this point. Okidogi is just going to sit here and keep clicking bulk ups, which is fine by me, right? Of course. It might even help to have like a little fake out mod on this, like Rillaboom or Iron Hands, but hey, I still enjoyed the squad. So here comes Roaring here, gonna put pressure. All right, I'm gonna protect Heatran to bait, and that's exactly what I was baiting. All right, there's the icicle crash, not icicle crash, ice shard. It was gonna do a lot, but look at the power of gunk shot here at +2, so that's pretty cool. All right, and then from here, what does he got? He's got Heatran that also dies to Drain Punch. All right, I'm gonna go Terra Fairy here. He goes for Ice Shard. That's fine. You know, this was just in case of the Earth Power into Heatran, but there is the Earth Power, so you know, Drain Punch at the backs looks really good here, and I get all my health back. Right, you see the power of bulk up Okidogi is actually looking relatively nice in this matchup. There's the Dondozo. Doesn't matter. I'm just gonna knock off the Citrus Berry. All right, and Flash Cannon relive, thankfully. Right, it's not Life Orb Heatran. And there's a Drain Punch. Give me all my health back. Dondozo can't do this by himself. He goes for Heavy Slam. That does absolutely nothing. Just because, you know, I'm a relatively heavy poke person. So, yeah, we get our first dub there. Okay, he's got Salamence. Okay, so now more people are starting to run Salamence, which is pretty good. There's Heatran, Flutter, Rillaboom, Ursh, and then there's another Dondozo with no Tatsugiri. Again, probably doing Wave Crash, Yawn, and Heavy Slam stuff. But again, Okidogi looks pretty good here, right? Just because, you know, the Salamence can't really do a whole lot unless it clicks a flying move, but we have ways around that. We have Drain Punch into a lot of different things here, like the Heatran over here and the Ursh, and then we have the poison damage into the Rillaboom and even the Flutter Mane. So we're kind of chilling here, and I have screens, so you know that's also going to be relatively nice. So I'm going to go with my Ninetales, and I'm going to go Landorus first here just to intimidate whatever comes out because he's very physical besides his Flutter Mane. And we get double intimidate into the Salamence and Rillaboom. That's really, really good. And now I can just pretty much, you know, dodge his fake out by going Terra Ghost. He goes for that slot, which is fine. I'm going to reposition, you know, hit the Rillaboom first and go into my Okidogi. All right, there's my Blizzard. I'm surprised the Salamence live, but again, I don't have any special attack investment in this Ninetales. But we do get a freeze, which means double KO next turn, you know, with a potential Blizzard and a free bulk up, right? So there's the KOs with the Blizzard, and here is the free bulk up with the Okidogi. So +1 in attack and defense. All right, and now he goes into Flutter and he goes into Heatran. Now that's pretty much all she wrote because we have Landorus in the back. I'm just going to protect the Okidogi a little bit first. There's the D-Gleam, all right? And then from here is the Aurora Veil, right? So that's good. So we got our Aurora Veil, which is nice. Then after that, you know, it's just a simple click punch buttons, right? So we get rid of the Flutter Mane first, and then you can get rid of the Heatran. So that's another good way of utilizing this. But again, it does live. There is Landorus in the back, so I wasn't too worried. But this is, again, another very, very solid win here, right? Here's the Landorus. And there's not really a whole lot he can do, and he just gives up. All right, how about a little Bo3? So this one is a Roaring Moon Farigiraf team with, you know, Heatran and the Ursh Rillaboom combination yet again with Iron Hand, so that's okay. But again, my Intimidate looks pretty good, okay, as well as my screen support. And Okidogi yet again also looks relatively solid. So here we go, Ninetales and Landorus to get out the Intimidate support. Here is Urshifu, and here is the Iron Hands. So I don't want my Landorus just to die immediately to Urshifu Surging Strike, so I'm going to try and catch him with the Ogerpon switch. All right, he goes for a U-turn into the Ninetales. Somehow he does this. There's Roaring Moon. Okay, that's fine because, again, we get the Aurora Veil. This is good. So there's Heavy Slam. We live because of our defense boost and the Aurora Veil. And he's even intimidated. Here's Landorus yet again. Okay, and he actually just protects the Roaring Moon. So I wanted to get a little bit of damage here. So he goes for Drain Punch. Again, that does nothing. All right, but now what we can do is just double in on the Iron Hand slot. So he goes Terra Poison there. Knocks off my Choice Scarf for whatever reason. Okay, you can do that. There's the Moonblast. Of course, not doing a whole lot. But still pretty good into Iron Hands, right? And then there's another Heavy Slam. So here's the idea. Moon is intimidated and Iron Hands has been intimidated twice, right? So this, again, just feels like a safe bulk up. So there's Wild Charge, no damage there. We have the Aurora Veil. It's intimidated. Here's the Stopping Tantrum. And there is the bulk up, right? What can Roaring Moon do to stop this? Nothing. Okay, we have the tools that we need. Here comes the Urshifu. I'm going to go into Ogerpon yet again to redirect things. I'm going to go Terra Fairy. There's the Breaking Swipe. This is also why I did that. You know, Terra Fairy was also relatively nice into Breaking Swipe. And then there's the Surging Strikes, but this is still fine, right? Because we have good, solid passive recovery, right? We have more bulk up play, okay? So I'm going to get some health back because we have leftovers. Then he goes into Heatran, and that's going to be all she wrote because that means it's going to take a Drain Punch, and we're going to recover all that juicy health back. Yeah, there it is. Good old juicy health. And Heatran, it was nice knowing you, but thank you for doing that. And now, yeah. All right, game 2 here. So again, pretty much the same setup. If he can't beat it, I'm just going to keep on running the same thing. So here comes Ninetales. Here comes the Landorus. Get me my physical bulk down. There's Roaring Moon, and there's Rillaboom. And very as good of a Terran one as it gets. Double Intimidate here. It's very susceptible to it, so might as well go for it. All right, so he goes into Iron Hands here. That's still fine. It knocks off my Choice Scarf right from the get-go in turn 1. But here comes Blizzard Spam, okay? And here comes my U-turn, removing the Roaring Moon. I figured he might try that. So now we go into Okidogi, and now we can start setting up Aurora Veil plus our bulk up. So there's the Urshifu. I'm going to try and catch him with the Ogerpon, and I think I do here because he went for the fake out here into the Ninetales trying to stop it. He saw my Terra, but thank you for the healing. All right, and there's the bulk up, right? And now we can just pretty much redirect everything. Yeah, he can't break this Ogerpon here. He goes into Rillaboom. That's fine by me. Here's Follow Me, and here is another bulk up from the Okidogi. So now we're +2. Drain Punch, not going to be doing a whole lot eventually, especially with all this recovery that we're getting. But this, again, just looks like Spiky Shield to me, and a third bulk up. And now, all of a sudden, Okidogi looks relatively difficult to remove. There's the Wood Hammer. There's the good chip. And here is Wild Charge. That does nothing, right? Of course, it does nothing. So now we can just Drain Punch everything, and there's not really a whole lot he can do. We wall everything, and this is where our opponent also decides to forfeit and throw in the towel. Oh yeah, so yeah, there's our squad there. So, you know, I always like to do the Ninetales stuff with Landorus. It's one of my favorite combinations. And then, you know, from the back, you got your Okidogi and your Wellspring Ogerpon. If you want to have like Follow Me, bulk up ideas, you can definitely do that. You can even leave the Okidogi home, right? You can rely on the other 5 to do what they need to do. Heatran is very, very good into, you know, some ideas, especially like Side Spam stuff. You also have Roaring Moon for that. You know, you are a Dark type, so don't forget that. If they go Sunny Day, you know, Tornadus into your Ninetales, you have a Heatran. If they do Rain Dance, you have your Ogerpon that can also thrive in their rain as well. And then you can even reset your Ninetales that way in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so at the very least, here's a starting point with Okidogi, right? You know, bulk up Drain Punch is going to be good. Gunk Shot also very, very strong. We showcased it a little bit. Other than that, you know, these options are relatively standard. Good, solid options, you know, in regulationE will lead to good results. Okay, so if you're interested, here is the Pokepaste. We'll put it in the video description below. Give it a go. Let us know how you do. If you want to change some of the sets, you can definitely do it, but I think this is a good 6. If you're interested in coaching on the channel, it's a tier 3 sub to the channel. If you look in the video description below, as well as a pinned comment, it has the same link to join the channel with the tier 3 sub. And then from there, we can do a Discord call. We get you that team that you need. We build a squad from scratch like this. Okay, I share my screen, so this way you can see the process. And then from there, we get you that team that you need for either a mid-season challenge, a premier challenge, an upcoming local. If you're going to San Antonio, of course, that's another thing that you can prepare for. If you're at the Brazil, of course, you know, with the regional coming up this weekend, you can definitely consider that as well. But other than that, here's an Okidogi team. I was glad I was able to at least build one of these for the format. So yeah, we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out. Have a good one.